Nice Biscuits is a post-production company. As the name suggests, we are after production. We are responsible for finishing the films off that have been shot. We add visual effects. We create the material that is the final stage before it's seen on TV or cinema. Our primary work here is TV commercials, so that is generally considered to be quite a high level of finishing. The project's exciting because it's 4K. It's very, very high detail. It's 4 times the resolution of what HD is. It's pushing it to another level. Now, from our perspective, we have the technology is available to us. It's here to be able to do it, and to get involved with such a project like this is really quite exciting. To see the final film at 4K that we've finished is really exciting. There's 3 key stages to the workflow that we have here. We have the first stage, which is the offline, the second stage, which is the grading, and the third stage, which is what is the online or the finishing. Now, the offline stage is the editing together of the material to create the story, to get a rough cut together. Now, that's created using low-res proxy files, because you imagine 4K files are quite big files, they're quite cumbersome to be messing around with hours and hours worth of footage. So that's done at a lower resolution. Once that edit has been signed off and agreed by the director's happy and everyone's happy involved in the chain, a EDL or an XML, which is basically a numbered list, is produced, which we then use in the next stage, being the grading. This numbered list actually tells us how the edits go back together, what the camera shots are, what the time codes are, so we can glue it back and replicate what happened in the first stage of the offline, but at 4K. For the second stage of the workflow, grading, we use a system called Davinci Resolve. Now, the Resolve system allows us to grade directly from the raw camera files, the native files. So there's no transcoding that happens before we ingest into the system. That means we have got the opportunity to grade them, bring out the full clarity, maintain the best quality. That's the 4K files generally. Combining the Resolve with a grade 1 monitor is extremely important, because often when you're finishing, for example, TV commercials, brands, the color schemes they use, pack colors are really important, that we get them to be consistent with real life. So it's important at this stage, and even in the finishing stage, that we have reference monitors. I mean, they're expensive pieces of kit, but you have to have some sort of reference to reference everything from going forward. It's taken as read that when it goes to people's homes and it's been via satellite, it's never going to look the same, but you've got to start at some point, and that's important, that you've got the best calibration equipment, it's configured the best possible way. Stage 3 of the process, which is the finishing stage, is really when we put any effects onto the film. We're gluing it back together so it's in exactly the same state as we want it to be. It's where we carry out some of the little magic bits, where we paint things out of the frames or we replace things that weren't quite right on the shoot on the day. So for this, we use a system called Autodesk Flame. Particular machines we like to use are Autodesk Flame Premiums. They are the top end spec Flame systems, which are capable of working at 4K. It has all-in-one tool set. It's got everything from being able to, the equivalent of Photoshop, editing, tracking, importing 3D models, lighting scenes, you name it, it's all achievable with inside the Flame system. So from the 3 stages of the workflow, the offline, the grading and the finishing, quite often you will have 3 separate people undertaking that task, because the skills of that particular individual are such that they may well be spending 8 hours a day, 5 days a week doing that particular process. So although, for example, I'm a visual effects artist working on a Flame, I have the ability to do color grading, but it's not my first skill, so it's not something that I would like to be doing for a high-level director. The edit on the whole was pretty straightforward, because the director had managed to achieve most things in camera. So a lot of the shots that we've worked on are generally sort of just tidy up shots. or matching a little bit what was achieved in the offline. For example, this shot we've got here, the editor has roughly comped together shots of Henry in different framing. So we've sort of played around with that, replicated it and improved on it. So we've made ourselves a clean plate. We've added and luminance keyed and additively keyed over Henry over the background, and we've sort of then built it up to create a sequence such as this. Sort of ghosting of imagery over the top. We've got also a shot a bit further along the timeline, which originally was shot and it had a piece of polyboard in there. So this is a piece of polyboard to the side that, although that particular part of the take I presume was going to be taken further on, the director decided he wanted to take it a bit earlier. So we've very quick and easy, we've patched a piece of white in there and we've patched it over the side. Now all we've done is we've painted a single frame up and we've tracked next to it. So we've told the flame to look at the image that we're playing with and track it. So what we do is we put a little tracking marker on the back plate, and it's a little stabilizer. And what it does is it looks at the plate and follows the movement of it. So what I've done is placed a piece of white patch and it follows and tracks along it. So it's a very quick fix. The opening stage, we've got a few layers that the editor's decided to build up here. He's placed Henry there spinning around. Well, he's placed him center frame and he's sort of just mixed elements over the top. Now, as that stands at the moment, you can't really see, but there are quite a few bits of artifacts around the edge of the set which weren't really there before. So we've had to sort of patch and tidy those up, because when you get to see this sort of work at 4K, you can see things that you couldn't really see before very easily. So you have to be very careful and you have to make sure that you look clearly. When you see this on a big 100-foot 4K cinema screen, that's the point when you say, I wish I'd have double checked that before.